She's pregnant, so let's divorce. You handle my parents' care.
After 3 years of cheating, he plans to remarry that woman. I was utterly astounded by his selfishness. Huh? Well, whatever. I had been preparing to shock him. So, just as he said, I promptly filed for divorce. And then, 3 days later, I received a staggering 100 missed calls from him. 12 years ago, at 33, I, Taylor, married Matthew, then 38. I ended up living with my in-laws, but they were very kind, and I felt comfortable there with no problems at all. So at that point, I truly believed in a happy marriage. Starting a part-time office job to help financially, my husband was initially supportive.
But I earn enough, so you can quit whenever.
But relying solely on you isn't fair.
Then let's travel abroad someday, just the two of us.
I thought marrying him was the best decision. Perhaps that blinded me to his true nature. The nightmare began 5 years ago when I turned 40. My in-laws, on a tour bus to see cherry blossoms, got into an accident, leaving them both bedridden with broken legs. To my shock, Matthew added insult to injury.
You handle my parents' care.
His cold words shattered my belief in him. It's okay to care for your parents, but let's share the responsibility. I wanted a discussion until we agreed, but he wouldn't listen.
Isn't this your duty as my wife?
What do you mean?
I work outside. You manage the house and care for my parents. That's the division of labor.
Matthew held traditional views. Women should obey men, and any disagreement from a woman was impudent. But I work too. Let's cooperate while both working.
Then quit your job. The money you make is insignificant compared to mine.
What? His disregard for my work infuriated me.
Part-time work hardly contributes. It's negligible for our finances.
His sudden attitude shocked me. But I'm needed at work now. It's not just about money. Working is also about engaging with society. Stop nagging. Hiring a caregiver costs money, but it's cheaper if you handle it. End of discussion. He cut off the conversation, leaving me unsatisfied. However, since he had no intention of caring for his parents, I had to quit my job. Thus began my full-time caregiving at home. Father-in-law, sorry, Taylor, for burdening you. Don't worry about it. While I smiled back at my always apologetic father-in-law, in reality, juggling chores and caregiving drained me. About 6 months into this routine, while out shopping, I realized something alarming. Hey, did you withdraw money from my account?
Huh, what are you talking about?
Don't play dumb. I'd notice if $4,000 suddenly vanished. After checking with the bank, money had been transferred from my account to my husband's. When I confronted him, he lazily pulled out my credit card from his pocket and tossed it on the floor.
I thought I could get away with it since you're always home.
That's money I earned from my job. Give it back. Suddenly, my right cheek felt a dull ache with a sharp sound. It took me about 3 seconds to realize my husband had slapped me.
Shut up. You're too noisy for a woman. Don't sass me.
With furrowed brows, he yelled, ignoring me, and stomped back into the room, leaving me bewildered. This can't go on. But discussing it is futile. What should I do? And time passed without any chance to talk. Then, One phone call changed everything. One morning, a month later, out of the blue,
We need to talk.
calling me to the living room, my husband handed me some papers. He was holding a divorce form.
She's pregnant, so let's divorce. You handle my parents' care.
He said it as if it were obvious, with a casual tone. His part of the divorce papers was already filled out. What? What do you mean? I was red-faced with shock and anger, while he smirked at me.
Well, living with an old hag like you is no match for a young, fresh girlfriend.
That's awful. Besides, it's your parents who need care. But he insisted I handle it all.
But I'll let you live in this house for free.
Realizing it was futile to argue with his delusions, I sighed. Well, whatever. I took the pen and filled out my section, deciding to keep the divorce papers.
Glad the talk went smoothly. I'll be away on a business trip for 3 days.
He left cheerfully through the front door. I watched him leave in disbelief. He didn't hear a thing, did he? Well, that works for me. I shrugged and began preparing to shock him and promptly filed for divorce that day. And oh, more missed calls. I frowned as I checked my phone. There were a staggering 100 voicemails from Matthew. Listening to them, they were all about where are you, and can't get into the house, and call me when you hear this. This situation continued for several more days. If he keeps bombarding me with voicemails like this, it's too annoying. I don't want to be harassed anymore. It's time to put an end to this. I called my ex-husband and arranged to meet at a cafe. By then, I had already decided to confront him. When he arrived at the cafe, he looked a bit down compared to before.
I'm glad we could meet. I stayed in a cheap hotel, so the bed was tiny.
Despite his excuses, I said coldly, "Let's get straight to the point."
I couldn't get into the house because the key didn't work. And it seemed empty, despite calling out multiple times. What's going on?
That's because my parents have moved. And we sold that house. He seemed puzzled by my words.
Can you explain that?
My parents decided to move to a luxury assisted living apartment. They felt guilty about burdening me. My in-laws and I had discussed and arranged their move months ago. You were supposed to know about it too.
Huh? Really?
Likely, with his head full of his lover every day, he probably didn't pay attention to us at all. You didn't listen to anything, did you? Pathetic. Moreover, my in-laws were furious about his affair and supported our divorce. So, the day after I filed for divorce, they had already completed their move to the apartment. Furthermore, we sold the house under his father's name and changed the locks at the realtors, so it's natural he can't enter the house.
But I didn't agree to this. You can't decide on your own.
The final decision was made by your parents, not me. He couldn't say anything and sullenly drank his iced coffee. I decided to add insult to injury for him. So, how was your trip to your lover's house? I chuckled, and he began trembling.
How did you know about that?
Yes, despite insisting it was a 3-day trip, I was well aware he had been spending time at his lover's house. So, even when he returned home but couldn't get in, I secretly watched from afar as he panicked and circled the house.
Then you could have contacted me earlier. My parents don't have cell phones.
Even if the desperate Matthew wanted to contact me, he wouldn't have known the phone number of the new apartment where my in-laws were. So, he ended up leaving me 100 voicemails on my phone.
It's because of you that I had to endure those uncomfortable beds in the cheap hotel.
Despite the current situation, he continued to act tough, shaking the cafe table with his commanding tone. I was utterly dismayed. To be honest, I knew about her even before hearing about her pregnancy from you. My words left him dumbfounded, mouth agape in utter stupidity.
Don't talk nonsense. How did you find out about Amanda? Did you snoop through my phone?
Don't say rude things. She contacted me. I began explaining what happened a month ago to the surprised Matthew. At that time, burdened with suddenly taking care of my in-laws and exhausted from household chores and caregiving, I received a call from an unknown number. Nice to meet you. I've been taken care of by your husband. At that moment, invited to the cafe by his lover, Amanda, I was told something unexpected. He has been giving me money. I was dumbfounded by her nonchalant attitude. But gradually, I became infuriated, thinking that if not for this woman stealing my husband, we might have continued a happy life, and I couldn't bear it. Oh, are you angry with me? But seriously, do you think you could have been happy with a man like him? At that moment, she peered into my face, and somehow, her words seemed oddly convincing to me. I hate men who look down on women like him. I mean, he probably told you to shut up and raised his hand, right? As she spoke as if she had witnessed it all, I involuntarily nodded. Yeah. Men like him are predictable. She grinned. Anyway, I'm only 25. It's disgusting for a 50-year-old man to chase after a girl like me. Even if it wasn't me, wouldn't you think he'd cheat eventually? She had a knack for spotting men who looked down on women, and tricking money out of them was her hobby and purpose in life, she said. I was astonished by her tastelessness, but Amanda seemed even more delighted as she continued. Also, I wanted to see the face of that idiot's man's wife. For a moment, I felt the urge to punch her, but then I had a sudden idea. And, would you like to join forces with me? I proposed to her.
That's a lie. Amanda would never betray me.
Matthew believed it, but the story of her pregnancy is also a lie. I planned it all.
Ha!
Then, as expected, I brought up the divorce with you. It worked out perfectly. Pale and staring into space, the stunned him muttered repeatedly.
This can't be true.
Well, then, why don't you ask her yourself?
No, I'd rather not.
I pointed to his phone on the table, but since he didn't reach for it, I decided to call Amanda instead. Then, the automated voice said, "This phone is currently not in use. She stopped answering your calls and wasn't at home anymore, right? So, you were moving around in cheap hotels?" Tears in his eyes, yet he still couldn't let go of his lover.
Surely Amanda must have some reason.
Just then, his phone beeped.
Oh. A message is here.
As if clinging to the last bit of hope, my ex-husband operated his smartphone, but soon his face turned to despair. What did it say? Silent, Matthew showed me the screen. There was a message from Amanda. Moved. Also, getting a new phone, so this is the last message. Thanks for all the support. Bye-bye.
Damn it, women are.
It's your fault. You've been looking down on women all this time, and now you're getting what you deserve. I chuckled sharply. Amanda was aware of my and my in-laws' movements and deliberately kept you at home for 3 days. Thanks to her preparation period, we were able to move smoothly.
That's a lie.
Enough with the noisy voicemails. Stop pestering us. Besides, we're not a couple anymore. As I got up, he suddenly apologized.
I'm sorry. Please. Give me another chance.
Yeah, right. Your parents were furious too. If we don't reconcile, you'll have nothing left. Indeed, he had lost his money, his home, and even his family. Amanda had already informed the company about their affair, so his actions would likely cause problems at work.
Please forgive me. I won't do it again.
With his pride shattered, he kept bowing and crying. Of course, I wouldn't forgive him for that. A scumbag who cheats with younger women? I refuse. I've already filed for divorce, and we're no longer connected. Don't ever contact me again. Got it? As he remained silent, I delivered the final blow. Oh, and I'll be taking alimony. For every slap you gave me, for forcing me to quit my job to take care of your parents, and of course, for your infidelity.
This is too much.
Pushing away his crying figure with my foot, I paid only for my portion and left the cafe. Afterward, I blocked his calls and returned to my parents' home, found a new apartment, and received $30,000 in alimony from the divorce. My ex-husband, now penniless, took on multiple jobs to pay off his debts. Eventually, I contacted Amanda, who was overjoyed. But when I mentioned, I'll be collecting alimony, she became furious. Still, I hired a lawyer, collected from her, and even reclaimed the $4,000 Matthew had withdrawn from my account. Finally, I had some free time to myself. Now, I plan to pursue what I've always wanted to do. First, I'm off to fulfill my dream in England next week. I'll enjoy it to the fullest. How was this story? Please subscribe to the channel. Well then, let's meet in the next video.